G'day folks, so I'm here at Inskip Point, loaded onto the ferry, about to head across to Gari, Fraser Island. Come along and join us, come along for a ride, and I'll show you a little bit about the beautiful Gari. So, Gari, or otherwise known as Fraser Island. Now, it was named Fraser Island back in 1846, and it was actually named after a guy by the name of Captain James Fraser. And he was the master of Stirling Castle, and he actually got shipwrecked on the island in 1837, and consequently he died out here. So the early settlers, or first settlers, when they came out here in 1846, actually named the island Fraser Island after some pompous British lord who couldn't steer his ship and ran into the biggest sand island in the world. Okay. In July of 2023, we actually changed the name back to its original name, to its traditional name of Gari. Now, for some reason, some people get upset about this, but they don't actually even know what the word Gari means. And if you knew what the word Gari means, you'd actually probably accept it. Gari actually means, in the local Butchulla language, which is the traditional people from Gari, it actually means paradise, or place of beauty, is actually what it means, okay? It's a female spirit. She's laying here, and the local Butchulla people, if they believe, if they look after Gari, she'll look after them. So I think that's a little bit more appropriate name. And if you come out here to Gari, you'll notice it's a pretty beautiful place. It is paradise. But Gari is quite a special spot in Queensland. Very special spot in the world, actually. It's actually the largest sand island in the world. I'm pretty much in the middle of the island at the moment. We've got roughly about 60 kilometres that way north to the top, and about 60 kilometres that way down to the south. So it's quite a large island. And as I said, the largest sand island in the world. We actually have the 5 largest sand islands in the world, all in Moreton Bay, all off the coast of Brisbane. Fraser is number 1. You got North Stradbroke is number 2. Moreton is number 3. Then South Stradbroke and then Bribie Island are the 5 largest sand islands in the world. Now, the reason why we've got so many large sand islands off the coast of Brisbane here in Moreton Bay, it's for 2 reasons. One is from volcanic activity, and the other is the natural ocean currents. So if you go back around 185 to 200 million years, you know, back when my ex-mother-in-law was born, she was around back then. I shouldn't actually say that. She's actually a really nice lady. Her daughter's not so nice, but she's actually a really nice lady. But about 185, 200 million years ago, Australia, we broke away from Antarctica and we headed north. And as we headed north, we headed over a very thin spot on the Earth's crust. And as we went over that thin spot, it actually burnt a hole in the bottom of Australia, creating volcanoes. And it started off the top end here in Fraser Island out in the ocean, and it burned its way across through the Sunshine Coast. The Glasshouse Mountains are all remnants of old volcanoes. Then it made its way across to the Toowoomba Range. Once it got around Spicer's Peak and the Toowoomba Range, Australia and the continent, we stopped going north. We hit the Asian plate, and that pushed us west. So that made that hotspot curve back around, back through Mount Barney, Mount Lindsay, Mount Warning, and back out in the ocean. So it created a big horseshoe of mountains, what we now call the scenic rim. Okay. Now, there's a few of those volcanic cores out in the ocean here. Now, what happens is we have natural ocean currents which start in the south and they head north. Okay, so all this sand actually started its life in New South Wales and Victoria. Don't worry, sand, I won't hold that against you. You've migrated north to the good part of the world. But the natural currents actually push it north. As it gets up around here in Moreton Bay, it actually gets stuck in behind those big volcanic rocks. Okay, so at the top end of Fraser Island, Indian Head, is a big volcanic rock. And all the sand has built up behind it, and consequently an island is formed. Consequently, that sand is still being pushed up the coast, so Fraser Island, Moreton Island, Stradbroke Island are still growing. They're actually getting larger. So that's the reason why we have so many large sand islands in Moreton Bay. Trust me, I'm a tour guide. So this beautiful spot behind me here, folks, this is Lake McKenzie. Now, there's many lakes on Gari. McKenzie is actually the largest of the lakes. Now, Lake McKenzie is a pretty popular spot. As you can see behind me, hundreds of people here today. for that beautiful turquoise blue water. Now, Lake McKenzie is different to most other lakes in the fact that this doesn't have a creek running into it or a creek running out of it. It's not fed by a river system. This is what they call a mirror lake. And a mirror lake pretty much basically is a big depression in the ground, okay, and that depression has filled up over many years with leaf litter and all that sort of stuff on the bottom, which has sealed the bottom, and then the depression has filled in with rainwater. So this is literally just one big puddle, okay, a beautiful big puddle. And because it's all rainwater, it's crystal clear, absolutely spectacular water. I don't know if you can see how clear that is down there, but beautiful, crystal clear water. Also, the sand here at Lake McKenzie, this is very, very fine silica sand, very, very fine. So it's actually really good for you. It's really good for exfoliation. When you come to Lake McKenzie, grab a handful of sand, rub it into your skin, rub it into your face. It's really good for the skin. It's really good for the hair too, ladies. That silica sand, rub it through your hair, make your hair nice and soft. And the fact that the water here is pure rainwater, there's no minerals or salts or anything like that in it. It's pretty much pure water, so it's really soft. So you can come here, have a beautiful swim, and it's also a bit of a spa treatment as well. So there you go. When you come out to Gari, you got to do like all these people are doing, and come to Lake McKenzie and have a beautiful swim in one of the jewels of Gari. So this spot here behind me, folks, this is Eli Creek, and Eli Creek is one of the most popular spots on Gari. It's a beautiful freshwater, crystal clear, sparkling clear water. So what happens is, Fraser Island or Gari is a big sand island. So sand is like a big sponge. The rain falls onto the sand, gets absorbed by the sand, and that leaches out through little springs and ends up in little creeks. And this one's one of the largest creeks on Gari. It's about 4 million litres of beautiful crystal clear spring water running down here every hour. So it's a great spot. As you can see, people just jump in on their floaties and just float down the creek. It's a stressful life, isn't it, ladies?
It is. So
very stressful. Give us a wave. What are you doing sitting in the middle of the road, buddy? You want to get out of the middle of the road? You'll get run over there, you wally. I'll go up Dingo's. So here, folks, we're in Central Station. Now, Central Station, it's called Central Station, not because it's a train station. It's called Central Station because it's pretty much the geographical centre of Gari, and it used to be the logging station. Okay, Fraser Island or Gari was logged quite intensively for its timber, quite a few different timbers like Cowrie pine, hoop pine, that sort of stuff, but also this tree here behind me, which is called a satinay tree. Now, satinay was highly valued for its timber. It's a beautiful, deep red timber, so it was used a lot for furniture. It was also used for construction timber. Beautiful, big, tall, straight trees, as you can see. So it was great for making beams. It was also very good for making marine pylons because the bark of the satinay tree is actually resistant to marine borers. But when you come into the middle of Fraser Island or Gari, you'll actually see there is this spectacular rainforest in the middle of the island. Now, Gari is also famous for its dingoes. Now, you don't have to be worried about dingoes or scared of the dingoes. You just got to give them a little bit of respect, okay? Never approach the dingoes, okay? You should never approach any wild animal for that matter, especially one that's an apex predator, but don't approach the dingoes. Definitely don't feed the dingoes, okay? Feeding the dingoes gets them used to humans and causes a major, major, major problem. And if rangers or locals see you feeding the dingoes, you're going to get in a bit of trouble. Okay. Also, if the dingoes look like they're coming over a little bit too close, they're too close to you or something like that, just stand in a group, stand with other people, and you should be fine. If you have any young kids with you, make sure the young kids are always standing near an adult and don't allow the kids to run around. Okay. Small animals running triggers in the predator-prey instincts, and the dingo is going to chase them. Okay, so keep kids close. But otherwise, come on out here, enjoy Gari, enjoy the dingoes, just leave them alone and respect them, and you should be fine. So these are just a couple of the beautiful spots here on Gari, but trust me, there's lots of beautiful places to visit while you're here on the island. Remember though, folks, only take photographs, only leave footprints. Ask any Aussie, they'll tell you.